Commander Krix-T adjusted his ceremonial cape for the 7th time in 3 minutes, mandibles twitching with barely contained excitement. The presentation hall of Gamma Station buzzed with anticipation as representatives from 17 galactic civilizations gathered for what the Vaxian Empire had boldly declared the most important military innovation since faster-than-light travel. "Welcome, esteemed colleagues," Krix-T's voice resonated through the chamber. "Before we begin, please ensure you have completed Form 27B6, acknowledging that any technological secrets witnessed today are protected under Galactic Patent Law, subsection 12, Paragraph 9, Subparagraph 4, Clause 2. Those who have not yet signed, please see my assistant for the proper documentation. And yes, it must be in triplicate." A collective groan rippled through the audience. 3 delegates immediately headed for the exits, having learned from previous Vaxian presentations that the actual content wouldn't begin for at least another 40 minutes. "Now then," Krix-T continued, activating his holo display with a flourish. "The Vaxian Empire has long been recognized as the galaxy's premier developer of defensive technologies. Our force fields power the shields of every major space station. Our reactive plating protects the most valuable shipments. But today," he paused for dramatic effect, antennae quivering, "today we unveil the pinnacle of protection, the ultimate defense, the absolutely positively, unquestionably impenetrable Mark VI personal battle armor." The curtain behind him rose to reveal a sleek, iridescent suit of armor floating in a containment field. Its surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, catching and reflecting the light in mesmerizing patterns. Composed of over 300,000 synchronized nanoplates, each individually controlled by our patented quantum AI, the Mark VI can adapt to any attack. Energy weapons. Krix-T fired a laser at the suit. The beam dispersed harmlessly. Ballistic impacts. A railgun round bounced off with a musical ping. Even atomic restructuring attempts are futile. The commander's assistant, junior technician Vrex, stepped forward with a thick manual. "The Mark VI has been tested against 47,928 known weapons systems. It has survived exposure to 12 different types of stellar radiation, 3 quantum singularities, and 1 particularly aggressive cleaning drone that somehow achieved sentience. The full test results are available in this brief, 2,947-page summary. But what truly sets the Mark VI apart," Krix-T continued, practically vibrating with pride, "is its complete imperviousness to primitive physical attacks. In our enlightened age, some might question the need for such protection. After all, what civilized being would resort to crude physical violence? We must remember that the galaxy still harbors lesser species. A holographic display showed various primitive worlds lingering particularly long on Earth. These Deathworlders, especially humans, still rely on brute force like some sort of cosmic joke. Can you imagine? Actually touching your opponent in combat." Krix-T shuddered delicately. "Barbaric. But fear not. The Mark VI's nanoplates are bonded at the quantum level. No purely physical force can separate them. You could hook this suit up to 2 capital ships trying to pull it apart, and the nanoplates would hold." The audience oohed and ate appropriately, though several members appeared to be nodding off during the subsequent 30-minute explanation of the armor's warranty terms. "And now, for a limited time, the Vaxian Empire is offering exclusive production rights to select allies. Simply fill out the attached 400-page application, provide a complete history of your civilization's military conflicts for the past 1,000 years, and submit a small processing fee of 1 million credits. But wait, order in the next solar cycle and we'll throw in a complimentary quantum polishing kit." As Krix-T basked in the polite applause, none of the assembled dignitaries noticed the human janitor in the back of the room, absently wiping down surfaces while muttering about the inefficiency of quantum-bonded cleaning products. Some would later reflect that this oversight was, perhaps, a tactical error. Dave Thompson had 3 rules for surviving as the only human maintenance worker on Gamma Station. 1. Never volunteer for overtime during alien diplomatic functions. 2. Always carry spare batteries for the quantum mop. 3. Never, under any circumstances, explain to the Vaxians why their revolutionary new technologies violated at least 6 basic laws of physics. He'd already broken the first rule by covering his colleague's shift during the big armor presentation. Now, watching Commander Krix-T demonstrate the Mark VI's supposedly impenetrable defenses, he was struggling mightily with rule number 3. Quantum-bonded nanoplates. My foot, Dave muttered, pushing his cleaning cart past a cluster of wide-eyed alien diplomats. They've got the electron valence all wrong. One good shock in the right spot and that whole matrix would. He caught himself and focused on removing a particularly stubborn patch of self-aware algae from the floor. The thing about being a janitor on a space station was that nobody really paid attention to you. Sure, they'd notice if you weren't there the accumulated debris from 17 different species could get pretty wild, but the actual person doing the cleaning was invisible. Which was exactly how Dave liked it. It hadn't always been this way. Back on Earth, he'd been a promising mechanical engineering student with a flair for materials science. Then came the incident with the quantum coffee maker, 3 exploding lab computers, and that unfortunate situation with the Dean's prized collection of ancient circuit boards. The resulting recommendation letter had been less than stellar. Still, space station maintenance paid well, and Dave found a certain satisfaction in keeping the vast mechanical systems running smoothly, even if it meant dealing with the Vaxians' constant improvements. "Excuse me, maintenance worker," a snobbish voice interrupted his thoughts. "This section requires additional sanitization for the upcoming demonstration." Dave looked up to find junior technician Vrex hovering nearby, datapad clutched in 3 of his 6 appendages. The Vaxian's antennae twitched with barely concealed disdain. "Sure thing," Dave replied cheerfully. "Just need to finish calibrating the quantum mop's resonance frequency to match your floor coating. Wouldn't want to accidentally dissolve it like last time." Vrex's antennae went rigid with alarm. You can calibrate quantum technology?" "Oh yeah. These new Q-series mops are basically just simplified versions of your nano-manufacturing systems. Same principle as the Mark VI ice plate matrix, really. Though you might want to adjust the phase variance on that, by the way. The harmonic resonance is way off." The Vaxian stared at him blankly. "You know," Dave continued, warming to the subject despite himself, "the quantum fluctuation in the binding matrix? It's oscillating at nearly the same frequency as standard human muscle contractions. One good pull at the right angle and—" he caught himself again. "But hey, I'm sure your engineers thought of that. Now, about that sanitization." Yes, of course," Vrex mumbled, backing away slowly. "Carry on, maintenance worker. Though perhaps stay away from the armor display." Dave shrugged and returned to his work, humming an old Earth tune as he expertly manipulated the quantum mop's controls. Around him, the presentation continued, with Commander Krix-T now demonstrating the armor's revolutionary waste recycling system. "Complete environmental isolation," the commander proclaimed proudly. "The wearer could survive in a vacuum, underwater, or even in the heart of a gas giant. Unless they forget to carry a backup power cord," Dave muttered under his breath, noting the single-point power distribution system. "But what do I know? I'm just a janitor." He'd just finished polishing the last section of floor to a mirror shine when the station's security alerts began blaring. Red warning lights bathed the presentation hall in an ominous glow as Station Director Plex's voice crackled over the intercom. "Attention all personnel. Multiple unauthorized vessels have breached our outer defenses. Security protocols are now in effect. Please remain calm and proceed to your designated safe zones while completing the necessary emergency documentation in triplicate." Dave sighed heavily, looking down at his perfectly cleaned floor. 10 years of space station maintenance had taught him that unauthorized vessels usually meant pirates, pirates usually meant fighting, and fighting always meant a mess. "I don't suppose anyone thought to fill out Form 32C for emergency cleaning services," he asked no one in particular, already knowing the answer. Around him, panicked diplomats rushed for the exits while Commander Krix-T tried desperately to maintain order. "Please, honored guests. The Mark VI will protect us, just as soon as I complete the emergency activation sequence. Now, where did I put that manual?" Dave Thompson had a feeling he was about to break rule number 3. Spectacularly. The first sign that things were about to go terribly wrong was the sound of plasma cutting through the station's outer hull. The second sign was Commander Krix-T getting his ceremonial cape stuck in the Mark VI ice display case while trying to demonstrate proper emergency protocols. Now remember, the commander shouted over the growing chaos, "In the event of a pirate attack, Please fill out Form 93D detailing any personal belongings you wish to claim as stolen for insurance purposes. The presentation hall doors burst open with a theatrical explosion that sent debris scattering across Dave's freshly polished floor. Through the smoke strode Captain Nexus, leader of the infamous Crimson Nebula pirates, flanked by a dozen heavily armed crew members. "Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and various other taxonomical classifications," Nexus announced with a flourish of his cybernetic arm. "We're here for the fancy new armor, though we'll also accept any valuable technology, rare minerals, or partially completed insurance claim forms." Dave watched from behind his cleaning cart as the Vaxian security team sprang into action, or rather, attempted to spring into action. Their own, slightly older versions of the Mark VI armor whirred and clanked as the guards struck what they probably thought were intimidating poses. "Halt, criminals," the lead guard declared. "You face the elite of the Vaxian era threat response protocol not found. Please update firmware and restart." Did they forget to update their combat software?" one of the pirates asked incredulously. Prompting manual override, the guard continued, stuck in a half-crouched position. "Please complete system diagnostic form 147B before proceeding." Captain Nexus rolled his eyes. "Right, stun them and grab the new model. We can figure out the software issues later." The pirates opened fire, their neural disruptors making quick work of the malfunctioning guards. Commander Krix-T, still tangled in his cape, watched in horror as his elite security team toppled like particularly well-armored dominoes. "This is impossible," he shrieked. "The Mark VII is impervious to weight. Neural disruptors aren't on our tested weapons list. That's not fair." Pirates Nexus reminded him helpfully. "Now, about that new model." Dave Thompson stood in the back of the room, watching the pirates advance toward the display case. His eye twitched as their heavy boots tracked dirt across his pristine floor. 10 years of maintenance work had given him an almost zen-like patience, but there were limits. "Excuse me," he called out, causing everyone to turn and notice him for the first time. "Any chance you could remove your boots? I just quantum mopped in here." The pirates stared at him. Commander Krix-T stared at him. Even Station Director Plex, watching through the security feeds, probably stared at him. "Are you serious?" Captain Nexus asked finally. "Deadly," Dave replied, pointing to the "please remove footwear" sign he'd installed last week. "Do you know how hard it is to get quantum residue out of these floors? It's like trying to vacuum up dark matter." "We're a bit busy stealing revolutionary military technology here," Nexus said slowly, as if explaining something to a child. "And I'm busy maintaining proper cleanliness standards on a station housing 17 different species, 3 of which secrete corrosive biomatter." Dave crossed his arms. "Some of us take pride in our work." One of the pirates raised his neural disruptor. "Should I stun him, boss?" "Hold on," Nexus grinned, clearly amused. "I want to see where this goes. Tell you what, maintenance man, help us crack open this display case, and we'll try not to make too much mess while we're robbing the place." Dave looked at the case, then at his ruined floor, then at Commander Krix-T still failing to untangle himself from his cape. He sighed deeply. "You're going about it all wrong anyway," he said, stepping forward. "That case has a quantum-locked seal. Neural disruptors won't do anything except scratch the finish." How Commander Krix-T managed to extract his head from the cape. "The maintenance worker is correct. Only a properly completed Form 62J can authorize the release of the Mark VII. You'll never." However, Dave continued, pulling a multi-tool from his belt. "If you applied pressure to these 3 points while running an alternating current through the locking mechanism, there was a soft click, and the case swung open." You dare?" Krix-T sputtered. "Security, seize that human. Once you complete the necessary firmware updates, of course." "Brilliant," Captain Nexus exclaimed, reaching for the armor. "You're wasted as a janitor, friend. Ever consider a career in piracy? We have an excellent dental plan." "Thanks, but I'd prefer steady work," Dave replied, watching as 2 pirates lifted the Mark VII from its display. "Though since you're here, that spot you're standing on could use a good buffing." "Boss," one of the pirates called out. "Security reinforcements incoming. We need to move." "Right then," Nexus nodded. "Grab the armor and let's wait. Why isn't it moving?" The pirates were straining, their cybernetically enhanced muscles bulging as they tried to lift the Mark VII. The armor hadn't budged an inch. Dave said helpfully, "You'll want to disable the gravity lock first. Though I should warn you, the quantum matrix is showing signs of strain. See that shimmer along the seams? Classic sign of harmonic instability." Captain Nexus squinted at him suspiciously. "And I suppose you know how to fix that too?" "Oh, sure. But you might want to step back first. Those nanoplates can be a bit explosive when they desynchronize." Nobody had time to ask what he meant, because that's when the shooting started. As plasma bolts filled the air and security alarms blared, Dave Thompson calmly set his coffee mug on his cleaning cart. Some situations required one's full attention, and teaching pirates a lesson about proper equipment maintenance definitely qualified. "You know what really bothers me," he announced to no one in particular, ducking behind his cart as security forces finally arrived. "It's not the piracy. It's not even the mess. It's the complete disregard for basic engineering principles." Captain Nexus, who had managed to activate the stolen Mark VII armor, turned to face the incoming security team. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm me now. This armor is impenetrable." "See, that right there," Dave pointed accusingly. "Completely incorrect use of the word impenetrable. Nothing's impenetrable. That's just lazy marketing." To demonstrate his point, Dave grabbed his quantum mop and adjusted its frequency modulator. With a casual swing, he sent a spray of cleaning solution across the floor. The liquid began to bubble ominously. "What did you do?" Nexus demanded, suddenly finding it very difficult to keep his footing. "Just a little chemical reaction," Dave shrugged. "Your nanoplates are quantum locked, sure, but they still need to maintain surface contact with each other. Add a little surfactant with the right molecular structure, and well." He gestured at the pirate captain's increasingly wobbly stance. "Impossible," Commander Krix-T shouted from behind an overturned table. "Our armor is tested against all known chemical agents." "Technically, this is just soap. Really, really advanced soap." Dave reached for his coffee, took a sip and grimaced. "Now it's cold. I don't suppose anyone filed a Form 27C for combat-related beverage temperature maintenance." One of the pirates, taking advantage of Dave's apparent distraction, tried to rush him from behind. Dave sidestepped smoothly, grabbed a service panel from his cart, and swung it like a cricket bat. The impact hit the exact spot where the armor's power distribution node connected to its quantum matrix. The pirate's expensive armor peeled apart like a banana. "Oh, come on," Dave complained, examining the pieces. "Single-point power distribution? No redundant systems? Did anyone even read the basic manual on quantum field maintenance?" "The manual is 3,000 pages long," another pirate protested. "And I read it during my lunch break. The quantum harmonics section alone had 12 critical design flaws. Here, let me show you." Dave proceeded to systematically dismantle the pirate's armor, pointing out engineering failures with the patience of a particularly dedicated technical instructor. "See this joint here? Complete resonance mismatch. And this power coupling, one good twist and..." The sound of rending metal punctuated his critique. Captain Nexus, still struggling with his increasingly uncooperative Mark VII, watched in horror as his crew's impenetrable armor was reduced to scrap by a janitor with a cleaning cart and a grudge against poor engineering. "This is embarrassing," Dave muttered, using his multi-tool to disable another suit. "I've seen better quantum field stability in our waste recycling units. At least those have proper fail-safes. Our engineers spent years developing this technology," Commander Krix-T wailed. "Maybe they should have spent more time in basic maintenance," Dave replied, casually tossing a bottle of quantum polish at the last armored pirate. The resulting reaction turned the fearsome warrior into what appeared to be a very surprised statue. "Don't worry," he assured the frozen pirate. "That'll wear off in about 6 hours, though you might want to fill out Form 93F for non-standard molecular reconfiguration." Finally, only Captain Nexus remained, his stolen Mark VI armor sparking and shuddering as the cleaning solution continued its work. "Now then," Dave said, retrieving his coffee mug. "About those boot marks on my floor." "Wait," Nexus raised his hands in surrender. "We give up. Just stop explaining everything that's wrong with our equipment. Please." "I haven't even gotten to the thermal regulation systems yet," Dave protested. The coefficient of expansion alone is. I said we surrender. Dave looked around the devastated presentation hall, noting with satisfaction that at least the quantum polish had left the floors gleaming. The pirates were being rounded up by security, Commander Krix-T was having what appeared to be an existential crisis, and Station Director Plex had somehow materialized with a stack of incident report forms. Well, Dave sighed, checking his watch. My shift ended 20 minutes ago. I don't suppose anyone wants to file the overtime paperwork. The collective groan from pirates, security forces, and station officials alike answered that question. Dave shrugged and began packing up his cleaning supplies. Fine. But someone better buff out these scuff marks before morning shift. And Captain, he turned to the dejected pirate leader. Next time, try reading the maintenance manual first. It'll save everyone a lot of trouble. With that, Dave Thompson, space janitor and unexpected armor expert, headed for the break room. He really needed a fresh cup of coffee. 3 hours after the incident, Station Director Plex's office had devolved into what could only be described as bureaucratic anarchy. Representatives from 17 species attempted to simultaneously file complaints, insurance claims, and patent infringement suits, while Commander Krix-T frantically tried to explain how a human janitor had single-handedly defeated the galaxy's most advanced armor system. Perhaps the commander suggested desperately we could classify this as an unauthorized product demonstration. Form 84B clearly states that any unscheduled testing of military equipment must be. You want us to file this as a product demonstration, Director Plex's eye stalks quivered with barely contained frustration. Your revolutionary armor was defeated by cleaning supplies. Technically advanced cleaning supplies, Dave corrected, trying to reach past the arguing aliens to clock out. And I did file a maintenance report about the quantum matrix instability last week. It should be in Section 7, Subsection 3 of the station's weekly hazard assessment. Every head in the room turned to stare at him. You filed a maintenance report, Director Plex asked slowly, about the most secure military technology in the galaxy. Well, yeah. The harmonic resonance was affecting our floor waxing equipment. Plus, it's right there in the station's safety protocols. Any quantum field irregularities must be reported within one standard cycle, page 1247, paragraph 6. Commander Krix-T's mandibles worked silently for several moments before he found his voice. You read our safety protocols. Had to. They're referenced in the cleaning staff manual, Dave shrugged. Though whoever wrote Section 12 really needs to review their quantum mechanics. The equations for proper waste disposal are completely wrong. The Vaxian representative made a sound like a dying vacuum cleaner. Meanwhile, the various diplomats had begun arguing about the broader implications. The Arcturian ambassador was demanding a full review of all Vaxian technology currently in use. The Centaurian delegation was already drafting new regulations about quantum field testing near cleaning equipment. 3 different species were attempting to hire Dave on the spot. I can offer you twice your current salary, the Regelian Trade Minister shouted, with full benefits and a comprehensive quantum engineering program. Our research division would welcome your unique perspective, the Andromedan scientist added. Plus, we have excellent coffee. Dave looked longingly at the time clock, still just out of reach. Look, I appreciate the offers, but I like my job. The hours are steady, the benefits are good, and I just got the quantum mop calibrated exactly how I like it. But you're wasted here, Commander Krix-T protested. Even our engineers don't understand quantum harmonics like you do. Yeah, I noticed Dave finally managed to reach his time card. Speaking of which, you might want to recall those Mark VI units you already shipped. The power core is going to destabilize if someone sneezes too hard near it. The commander's face went from green to pale white. We may have already shipped 10,000 units. Dave considered this while punching out. Well, I'd start filling out those recall forms now if I were you. The paperwork for quantum core detonation is a nightmare. Director Plex's eye stalks drooped in resignation. I don't suppose you'd be willing to help with the incident reports before you leave. Sorry, but my shift's over. Union regulations, you know. Though Dave paused at the door. You might want to evacuate level 3. Those pirates we froze with quantum polish? The effect should be wearing off right about. A distant crash echoed through the station, followed by several confused screams, and what sounded like someone demanding their lawyer. ... Now Dave checked his watch. Don't worry, I left the proper solvent next to them. Just make sure they fill out Form 93F before using it, and someone really should clean up those boot marks in the presentation hall. With that, Dave Thompson, reluctant hero and stickler for proper maintenance procedures, headed home. Behind him, the assembled representatives of the galaxy's most advanced civilization stared at each other in bewilderment. Should we be concerned, Director Plex asked carefully, that every maintenance worker on Earth might be capable of this? Commander Krix-T, already drowning in recall paperwork, whimpered softly. Oh, and one more thing, Dave's voice echoed back. Someone's going to need to sign for the cleaning supplies I used during the fight. The requisition forms are on my cart. In triplicate, of course. The collective groan could be heard 3 decks away. 1 month after what became known as the maintenance incident, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session to address what they delicately termed unexpected vulnerabilities in quantum-based defensive systems. The fact that this session was held in a station whose maintenance staff had been temporarily relieved of all cleaning equipment was, officially, completely unrelated. Commander Krix-T, newly promoted to head of regulatory compliance after what his superiors called a strategic career adjustment, presented the Vaxian Empire's new safety protocols. As per Section 47 of the Emergency Technology Revision Act, he announced, his voice only slightly trembling, all Vaxian defense systems will now carry the following warnings in no less than 12 languages. He activated a holographic display showing the new labels. Warning: this equipment may be vulnerable to advanced cleaning solutions, maintenance tools, particularly determined humans. Human maintenance workers evacuate area immediately. Furthermore, Krix-T continued, we have completely redesigned our armor's quantum matrix to be resistant to all known cleaning supplies. He paused, though we are still working on a defense against coffee-wielding janitors. In the back of the chamber, Dave Thompson continued his work, carefully avoiding the commander's nervous glances. His new contract had come with a substantial raise, full quantum engineering credentials, and strict instructions to never, ever explain to anyone else how he'd defeated the Mark VI armor. He'd also been given a new quantum mop, though he preferred his old one. Better harmonics. In conclusion, Krix-T was saying, the Vaxian Empire recommends that all facilities employing human maintenance workers establish designated quantum-free zones and implement a strict approval process for cleaning supply requisitions. Bit late for that, Dave muttered, noting how the assembled diplomats had automatically cleared a path around his cleaning cart. The quantum harmonics in this room alone are a mess. Someone really should adjust the resonance frequencies. 3 different species simultaneously reached for their emergency evacuation protocols. The changes rippled across the galaxy. Space stations began advertising human-proof quantum systems, only to hastily revise their claims after the first maintenance inspection. Pirates added check for janitors to their pre-raid checklists. The black market price for Earth cleaning manuals skyrocketed. Some claimed it was an overreaction. Sure, one human maintenance worker had defeated some pirates, but surely that was an isolated incident? Then came reports from the Arcturus sector, where a human plumber had dismantled an entire automated defense grid while fixing a quantum toilet. The Betelgeuse incident, involving a human electrician and what was supposed to be an impenetrable force field, only made things worse. The thing is, Dave explained to Director Plex during their weekly maintenance review, once you understand basic quantum field maintenance, it's all pretty straightforward. Anyone who's ever had to clean up after a quantum coffee maker explosion could figure it out. And this is standard training for Earth maintenance workers, Plex asked, trying not to stare at Dave's tool belt. Oh no, we usually just learn it on the job. You'd be surprised how many quantum physics problems you can solve with the right cleaning solution and a good multi-tool. The director made a note to update the station's threat assessment protocols. Again. Meanwhile, the Vaxian Empire's stock prices continued to plummet. They tried rebranding their armor as quantum-enhanced personal protection systems, but sales remained sluggish, especially after someone noticed the fine print warning that the warranty was void if exposed to human maintenance personnel. As for Dave Thompson, he got his raise, kept his shift schedule, and continued ensuring Gamma Station's quantum systems stayed properly harmonized. If he occasionally had to explain to visiting dignitaries why their supposedly impenetrable security systems needed better power distribution, well, that was just part of the job. The only real change was the new sign outside his office. Notice this facility maintained by human cleaning staff. All quantum field generators used at own risk. Management not responsible for unexpected disassembly of supposedly impenetrable technology. Please file Form 27B6 before activating any defensive systems. Have a nice day. Below it, in smaller text PS. Please wipe your feet. Some of us take pride in our work. Somewhere in the vast expanse of space, the galaxy's most advanced civilizations were beginning to realize a fundamental truth. Perhaps the most terrifying force in the universe wasn't advanced weapons or impenetrable armor, but a human with a tool belt, a quantum mop, and a thorough understanding of the maintenance manual. The paperwork alone was enough to give them nightmares.